Hello everyone and welcome to a new instance of this Dragon Age Inquisition hair modding tutorial. In this case in particular I'm going to guide you through the whole process of porting a hair from one race or gender to a different one. I've recently gotten asked about this on the Nexus, wondering if in order to port a hair, for example for the female elf ponytail to the human elf ponytail and the dwarf, if they had to start all over or if there was a way of doing the whole porting process a bit simpler. Well, I'm glad to tell you that yes, it's a very simple process once you have your hair mesh edited, and that it can be done for almost every hair that we have available to work with. I say almost every hair because in most cases the counts that the mod maker makes about the polygons, vertex and everything that lets you import an edited mesh, they are the same for all the meshes, in particular for all races and genders. For example, the female ponytail for humans is the same as the female ponytail for elves and dwarves in female and male. So if you made a ponytail for I don't know, your Inquisitor Lavelen, you can import it for a human without any problem. You don't have to start all over. I want to make sure you get that from the start, and you don't have to do much beyond making sure that the hair fits the head, which is what we are going to do in this video in particular. One thing I wanted to point out, like I said before, almost means that you cannot do this with every hair. The only hair in particular that I found that doesn't let you port any sort of edits is this hair in particular. In the game, this would be the hair queue in the mod maker if you are wanting to make a mod of this. One of my very first mods was using this mesh in particular, and as I came to realize, the elven female mesh doesn't have the same number as the human female or human male or any of the others. It's the only one. Aside from that, well, take into account that you cannot port these sort of creations onto Kunaris of any gender, because the Kunaris have like 2 or 3 hertz at most, meshes at most, and those are the ones you have to work with. If anyone is interested, I can make a tutorial for the whole process of making a mod for the Kunari hairs, because it requires using a mesh in particular that it's not the one that you would think if you're browsing through the mod maker. But anyways, that's a matter for another video. In this one in particular, like I told you, I'm going to show you how to grab an already modded hair that you made and how to port it to another race or gender. This hair replaces this one in particular. It will be the hair K in the mod maker, and I've edited it for the human female head. As you can see, no elven ears. Now I'm going to show you the usual process that I work with when I have to port this to elven female, and I'm going to leave a small comment in the description that lets you know which one is the most recommended workflow if you're going to port a mesh to other races. For example, if you want to make it the most efficient porting process, you can go from human female to elven male, then to elven female, and such and such. But like I said before, that will be in the description of this video. Okay. So, like I said before, we have the mesh that we've already worked with. You can duplicate it if you want, or you can create a new file and import this edit mesh so that you don't risk losing this process and this mesh in particular. And well, what I suggest that you do is that you import the head around which you're going to be making the edits. In this case in particular, like I said before, human female to elven female. I'm going to press open, and I'm going to select, like as I told you in previous videos, all the load 0 faces and items that can be found in this object in particular. So I import them, and now I have the elven female head. One important thing I want to point out here is that as you can see, while this might be the hair key in the 3D editing program, it's going to appear with this name, okay? It's very important that this is the same name with which you export the mesh, because if this name is modified when you try to import it into the mod maker, it will give you an error and you won't be able to use it. Just make sure that the name is the same. If you don't remember which name should be here, import the original mesh and then work from there. Okay, just copy paste. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be editing this to make sure it fits. I'm sorry, this head in particular. Now, as you can see, I'm doing a sort of selection that directly selects the whole mesh instead of the vertex and other parts. If you already have the 3D editing program open and you want to use this sort of selection, just press here and this should do it automatically. Or if you are already with a selection, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so you are already with the selection, for example this one, and you want to go to the general selection that you just saw, you, in this case in particular, press 1 because you are with the vertex, or you press the one that corresponds with the edges, faces, polygons and the elements. I find this overall the easiest way to make like a general edition of the hair to make it fit the head, and after you have it sort of settled, you can go into a more meticulous edition with the soft selection, vertex and other things aside. Another thing I want to point out is that, as you can see, I have it selected, but there's no pivot for me to move it. It's not that there isn't any pivot, but the pivot is located at the base of the there you go, at the base of the viewpoint, and that means that if I want to move this hair, I have to do it from here, which it can get a bit annoying in my personal experience. So what you can do if you find yourself in this situation and you want to edit this in general is go to the hierarchy button here, where I'm putting my mouse now, and press the affect pivot only in the adjust pivot section. Here it will show you different concepts of alignment: the center to object, align to object, or align to world. In this case in particular, I want the pivot to align to the hair, so I'm going to put center to object. As you can see, I have the pivot now centered in the middle of my hair mesh. Once you've done that, you remove the affect pivot only and you can work more easily now with the tool right here. Okay, now back to editing this hair. This process is something that is very particular. Like, you have to do it by eye and see how the hair can fit best the hair that you're going to be adapting it to. For example, I usually do a slight rotation backwards. I move it so I can see it fit here. As you can see, it's already, it doesn't have that many problems with the whole fitting to the new hair. I think it still could go a bit up, and I think it's too wide for the elven female head. So I'm going to press the R, and that will give me the scaling tool, and I'm going to just edit it a bit like this. As you can see, I'm working on the x-axis, and this is scaling down the whole hair in this axis in particular. One thing in particular, like I said before, clipping, you won't be able to avoid it at first. It's something that if you want later you can work on. Like for example, if you want to avoid it, I don't know, move the meshes here and work with that. Okay, give me a moment. And work with that. For example, I want this to go behind, and well, I'm not going to do this for this hair in particular because I really don't care if the ears clip through the hair. It can't happen. I won't die about it, but what I will do is make sure that, for example, this part in particular doesn't. I'm going to remove the edge distance, and I'm going to reduce the fall off. This part in particular doesn't go through the cheekbone like this. Okay, I think overall it shouldn't have that much trouble fitting now in the elven female head. Okay, so once you have all of this done, you have to export it like you would with any other project. You hide, pressing on the lamp, the heads, that those shouldn't be exported with the hair mesh, and you go to export. I'm going to export it as elf female. As you can see, I already had a file because I did this process a few times, and I'm going to save it. Remember the settings, you can see them in my other videos. And done. Okay, this would be the whole initial process of porting the hair to another race. Take into account that once you do this, the whole testing process comes next. You have to see if the edits that you made work well with the average head that you use in game, and if not, you have to go back and forth between the mod maker, the 3D editing program, and the game until you are happy with your work. I'm going to show you in a few moments how to import this in the mod maker and how the hair looks with both races in the game. Okay, so like I said before, now we are going to import those hairs into the mod maker, and later on we're going to test those hairs in the game. I went a bit ahead and jumped straight into finding the hair in the section of hairs assets of the mod maker. If you want to see how I got here, remember that there's a video in this tutorial playlist that tells you exactly how to navigate through the mod maker. And what I have here now are all the K hairs in game. As you can see, I have the dwarf female, dwarf male. Remember that the initials here are for race and gender, and then you have the name of the hair. In this case, the K is, remember, this hair in particular that I edited. And I have the dwarf female, dwarf male, elven female, elven male, human female, black wolf for some reason, and the human male. Aside from that, okay, what we're going to do now is import the hair in the human female and the elven female, so you can see how it works for both just the same. So I open the human female, and if you want you can do this at the same time, the elven female, and I go to import asset. This is for the human female. I select the human female and I press save, and it tells me that the resource has been successfully imported. And this one is for the elven female. I import the elven female, and it tells me again that it has been successfully imported. Give me a moment. Okay, here we have our first error. As you can see here, the hair imported perfectly for the human female, but it didn't import for the elven female, and we are going to check why. In order to do that, I suggest you export the hair in question. I'm going to name this KAF, and we're going to see if this is the thing that I mentioned you before about the name of the hair. Take into account that in most cases this name stays consistent throughout all of the genders and races, but sometimes it's not the case, and I'm glad it happened here, so we can go over it together. Okay, so here now we know why it didn't import the hair like it should have. So for the elven female, the hair that I chose to show you in this tutorial, I should have checked this before, but okay, everything is a learning experience. The hair that we chose for the elven female is named hair-0-load0 for human females, but for elven females it has this name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, you wait a few seconds and it lets you edit the name. I'm going to go here and I'm going to press. This is just to keep you all on the same page. This is the elven female edit that I did for the original hair. Okay, so I'm going to make all of this disappear. I'm going to press Ctrl B, and now as you can see both have the same name. For this case in particular, because I'm trying to solve a problem, this isn't much of an issue, okay? But try to keep these sort of things as tidy as possible, because it can get a bit messy if all of your objects here have the same name and you don't know which one is which. But anyways, like I said, if I change the name, I go to export, I name it elven female, I press save, I replace the one that I had before. Remember that the one I had before had a mistake that didn't let me import it. Perfect. And now that this is done, this is the elven female K. I'm going to import asset, I'm going to select elven female again, I'm going to press save, and I'm going to get the resource successfully imported. As if I go to the preview now, remember that before I didn't have the hair, now I have the hair. I have this thing too, I don't know exactly what it is. We will see if it shows in the game or not. But so far, everything looks normal, and now we have the hair imported for both human female and elf female. I'm sorry, there you go. Take into account that when making the mod, you can or import everything at once, yes. So when people install this hair in game, they only have one file that affects all the hairs, or you can import it for each gender and race that you have separately. For example, I imported for human female, I save like I showed you in the previous videos, and okay, give me a moment that I'm exporting all this for the hair care. Okay, I do this and I created a mod that has both the elven female and the human female hairs changed for my edited version. Or once you import one of the hairs, for example the human female, you go to new, it tells you that it will clear the currently modified data, and now you can do the new one only for the elven female. Okay, if this leaves you with any questions, please feel free to contact me later through the comment section of YouTube or through Tumblr or Nexus. I'm always open to questions there. Okay, so I made the mod and I saved it. I'm going to go now through the whole process of merging merging all the files, and I will get back to you with the result of this whole process. Very well, so here we have the final mod in game. As you can see, the original mod, that is the hair for the human female head, it fits quite well, but there are perhaps a few strands that we can move to make the overall finished product more clean. But well, this is just the hair that we were working with to begin with. There are obviously a few differences that we're going to see in a few moments when it comes to the port that we did to the elven female hair, and we will see them now. As you can see, maybe I didn't realize I edited something wrong when making the more detailed addition to the hair, and some strands were moved from one side of the head to the other. As you can see, there is a white spot there and a strand that it's moving to the other side. I will point them out in a moment. The general shape of the hair, though, was very consistent with the original one. Most areas of the head look rather well. There are a few dark patches there that I will have to correct later, but that's the whole part of the process of making a mod, the trials and errors, the polishing of mistakes and stuff. And well, as you can see, those patches there are only in the ported version. That's something that I will try to correct with the 3ds Max. And I will try to correct this part, like I said before, the part that somehow got moved to the other side of the head. Well, like I said, that's the whole part of the modding process. That's it for me today. I hope this video was useful to you, and see you next time around.